Hey everybody, this is Jessica, and today I'm going to be making this art journal page using some of the supplies from the January 2021 Mixed Media Inspired box. So I'm working in my large dilutions journal, and this page has already been gessoed before I started filming. And I'm putting down a layer of Dino Media paint in mineral and white, and I'm just blending this directly on the page. Usually I put it over on my craft sheet, but I just decided today to skip that step and go directly to the page. That's why you can see I put very little paint and I'm dry brushing it and blending those colors together. So the look I'm trying to achieve here is like an evening stormy sky, and so I'm going to just keep dry brushing those colors together until I'm happy with the blend. I'm really wanting to soften that mineral color, so again, it's like a stormy evening dusky sky. So I'm just going to keep doing this, and then while the paint is still wet, I'm going to take out a stencil. In this case, I decided to use a heart stencil. I'm just going to lay that on there, and with a damp baby wipe, I'm going to rub through the stencil to remove some of the paint that I just applied. And it's going to give me a really subtle pattern in my background. And so I'm just going to do this in a few different places. Some of the hearts are going to remove more than others. Some where it just removed only the white paint that was blended. So the underneath the blue paint is still there, which is kind of a nice tone-on-tone look. And so I'm just going to keep doing this here in different areas, wanting to not remove all of the paint, just some. And then I'm going to let this dry. And now I'm going to go in with my scribble sticks on the dried paint, and I'm just going to scribble them in this sort of arc, as you can see here, to create a rainbow. And I'm just going to work from the top to the bottom, so red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and then purple. And so I'm just creating an arc here, going from left to right. And it's really important that your paint is dry for this step, so I did make sure that my underneath layer was completely dry before I put down these scribble sticks. And then I'm going to get my wet brush, and I'm going to lightly blend out each color. And I'm making sure to clean my brush off on my towel in between each layer and then get fresh water. So I'm not activating and pulling the next color into the color below. So I go to yellow and I get to wash my brush, and then I wash my brush again and go into the green. So I'm not transferring and losing the pure color from each strip in the rainbow. I am blending a little bit from color to color, so there is a distinct line, but for the most part I am trying to keep that pure saturated color. I'm also not using a ton of water on my brush, as that will dilute the color out more too. And after I have all of the scribble sticks activated and blended, I'm going to let this dry a little bit. And then I decided that it needed to have a little bit of water drips in it, so I'm just spraying with my stress sprayer and using my finger to blend out so that it doesn't have a distinct edge on the top and the bottom. So after I looked at this rainbow for a little bit, I decided that it wasn't as bright as I wanted it to be. So I got out my Dino Wickley paints, and using a small brush, I'm just going to brush over each area with the paint to make it darker and pop. So I have very little paint on my brush, and that's because I'm not really wanting to have distinct paint lines. I want there to be that feathered look, as you can see here. So in some areas it's really dense color, and others you can actually see the brush stroke, and that's what I'm trying to do. And I'm just repeating these same steps for every color. There is some gapping in between, and that's okay because you can see the scribble stick underneath. This is supposed to be a very rustic looking rainbow. And so after I finished with the purple, I'm just going to once again let this dry completely. So now I'm going to get out my Finnabar liquid acrylics in ink black, and I'm adding some water to that, and then I'm going to mix the water and the acrylic together so that they become really, really fluid and have a lot of movement to it. And then I'm going to use my distress splatter brush to create splatters on the page. Now this is a really handy tool, and depending how much medium you pick up with it, that's going to depend on the size of the splatter you get. So a lot is going to get those bigger dots, and a little is going to get you a really fine splatter, so it's a nice tool to have in your stash. So I let those black drops dry, and now I'm going to go in with the heart stencil again and some white paint on a mini blending tool, and I'm going to very lightly place some hearts. So as you can see, I'm not really pushing it all, I'm just dragging so that some hearts are a little bit darker, some are lighter, and I have that nice fade from color to color on just a hint of the hearts. And I'm going to do this in a few different places on my page, and then let that dry. So I'm going to do a little bit of collage in the center of this heart, and I'm ripping up some dictionary paper in a few different shapes. And I'm just going to layer them on, overlapping, and I'm also putting some of the text as upside up so you can read it, and some of it's upside down. So it's more of a design element than something you're actually going to read. And I'm gluing this all down with Dino Wickley Media Ultra Thick Gel. You could, of course, use your favorite adhesive, but I like this particular one when I'm doing things like this because it allows me to move and adjust as there's about a 10-minute drying window on this. So I'm just using my finger to apply some to the back of each piece of dictionary paper. And then I will decide if I like it, if I want to add more. I rotate it so that, again, the text isn't all going the same way. And then let that dry a minute before I decide what next to layer. Next, I'm adding some vellum cloud stickers, as that really goes nicely with my theme of the sky and rainbow and everything I'm creating here today. And I'm making sure to use some different sizes, different shapes of clouds so that there's a lot of size and texture differences with this theme of clouds and rainbow. And I am definitely one who likes to take each element and kind of decide where I want to put it. So you can see here I was thinking, where does that cloud look good? And I place that down. And then I'm going to move on to the next step, which is adding my quote. So this is actually the quote that inspired the whole page. It says, "My favorite color is rainbow," and it comes from the Art by Marlene sticker quote book, as you can see here. And it's a one long strip, but I like my quotes to be more staggered, so I'm just using my scissors to cut apart the words. And so it'll be 3 tiers. My favorite color is rainbow. And I thought maybe I would move that, and then oops, nope, the glue wasn't quite dry and it started to rip. So that's where it's going to go, and that's where it will stay. So I have cut apart the is from the quote, and then next is rainbow, and I have it a little bit of a tiered drop, as you can see there, for my quote. So now I'm just going in with a little bit of white gesso in my finger just to soften the edges of my collage. And I thought this also kind of reminded me more of like wispy clouds, you know, like it's not fully formed a cloud, but you can see little wisps of moisture in the air. So that's what I was kind of trying to do here with the white gesso. And just adding a little bit more texture. And then I wanted some more clouds, so I cut a cloud sticker in half, and I used 1/2 of each side coming on and off the page. And then another sticker below the quote. And now I'm using a Stabilo wall pencil in graphite. I'm just kind of smudging that around my quote. And I'm going to use that Finnabar liquid acrylic and my dip pen to just draw little tiny hearts. I like to use dip pens when you are working on different types of mediums because you can't clog a dip pen because you're dipping it into something. So it's a nice alternative when you're not sure if your mediums are dry or you're working with a lot of different mediums and you don't want to ruin your pen. You cannot ruin a dip pen, so that is the benefit of using that. So I'm just drawing little hearts, as you can see. Just kind of filling in that area a little bit and also bringing back the heart motif from the background and in the mid layers. I like to repeat elements throughout my page so that there's a little bit of each in each layer. And so I'm just going to continue with drawing these black hearts. And I'm pretty sure this is the last one. Yep, that's the last one. And now the very last thing I'm going to do is place sequins. And I'm just using craft tweezers and then dipping it into my adhesive and then placing the sequins onto the page. I really like using sequins because it adds just little bits of shimmer without going so crazy, and also some texture because they are slightly raised from the page. So it's a nice element that I like to include in a lot of my work. And they're just fun. Who doesn't like sparkles? And it also goes well with the theme of rainbows and glitter and that whole concept. So I'm just going to keep placing these around in a few different places. I have a few different colors of sequins as well. I have clear and translucent and white. So I'm using all those different colors. And I'm just going to continue to place those, like I said, until I'm happy with how filled in it is with the sequins. And with that, my page is done. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this page and were inspired to make your own art journal page. I'd love to see it. Be sure to share with us using hashtag #ArtJournalJunction. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any of our future videos. Have a wonderful day.